I'm testing some new equipment tonight, so hopefully you'll bear with me. And if you're interested in having a conversation, feel free to jump on in. I believe the link is in the comment section or the note section of this post. Not 100% sure. And that's why we can try to test stuff out because in the past, had some audio issues, and I think this microphone is actually working really well. So hopefully, because in the past it just has not worked well. But anyway, this is kind of, let's call this like a pop-up live stream. I mean, they have pop-up art galleries and they have pop-up food trucks, so why not, right? So again, if you want to jump in, that's fine. It's kind of funny. So gosh, I can't remember, maybe 50, like gosh, probably almost 20 years ago now, that I did my first radio gig. And how I got into it was actually I started in accounting and finance, and I had a CPA. I was just getting started. We started DAS, which was a CPA CFO controller services company. But anyway, it was starting to get a little traction, and I ended up meeting Bob Allison. I heard a cold caller, and we just got in front of him. He was a local celebrity. He was actually kind of a big deal in the Metro Detroit area. He had a TV show called Bowling for Dollars, and connected with him a little bit later in life. He was done with the TV show, but he did have a radio show called Ask Your Neighbor, and he was probably one of maybe my third or fourth real client with DAS. So it was really cool, and so it was funny. So the cold caller that introduced me to him, we went to lunch. The four of us went to lunch. It was his producer and slash head sales guy, Al O'Neill. It was him, and it was my sales. I think it was Bob Kotz was my sales guy. And it was me. And it's funny. So Bob was there, and big celebrity. And at the time, I didn't know how big of a deal he was. So anyway, so we're having lunch, whatever, and he starts ordering cocktails. He ordered these things called silver bullets. So it was like half scotch and half gin. So it was a man's drink, to say the least. So when I tried it once, oh my gosh, I can't do this. But anyway, so he's like, all right, Ren, you can be my CPA, you can do my books, but there's two rules. You have to meet us for lunch once a month, and we have to go play pool afterwards. So anyway, it was a really cool guy, and he told me lots of stories. He actually greatly improved my pool game from horrible to mediocre. But anyway, so it was this great guy. But anyway, so in doing his books, I actually learned the business, how to do the radio business. So that was my first entry point into journalism slash broadcasting. So what was really cool about it was that so I did that. So he was on a stage. I don't think he was on the same station I was, but so basically learned how to buy time, get sponsors, and all that. So I started off, and I was in the station was 1460 WPON. I remember that. So I got this gig, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do a call-in show. So I'm a business guy, CPA. I'm a startup entrepreneur. I mean, it's super easy to do this, the way I figured anyway. So jump into this. And so I go. So it's basically it was in a light industrial area. So it was just this building. So it was literally just a room, no windows. It was just like nothing. It was just this room. There was a microphone, very similar to this actually, although I have windows in here. But it was just a closed wall. So the producer says, like, and I had an hour, so it was like go. So basically I started talking. It's like, so yes, happy to meet you. Blah, blah, I'm excited to be here. And I just opened it up for callers. I said, okay, so callers call now. And no one called. No one called the whole hour, which is funny because since I owned that hour, there was no commercials, no breaks. And I thought I was doing a call-in show. So literally, I'm just talking. I mean, I don't think I took a breath for the whole 59 minutes or so of the show, and it was just brutal. I mean, I was almost in tears when I left there because I was so tired. My throat was so dry. So anyway, but obviously after that, I learned the ropes. But anyway, but Bob just had a phenomenal machine when he was doing it because he had his son working with him and everything like that. So he had this cool idea. It was ask your neighbor, and he told me he actually didn't invent it. He got it from some other guy, some other market or something. But the idea was that you would call. It was a call-in show, and people would call in and ask like questions about like recipes or restaurants or how to get something, a stain out of carpet or whatever. And then basically Bob would either have a spot. It's not hip hop had like hundreds of sponsors locally. So he knew all of them by name, what they would do, and you just say, "Yeah, call such and such. Tell them Bob sent you. If you have any problems, just let me know." And he had a great network. So one of the components I want to start doing with my like streamcast thing is almost like kind of a tribute to Bob Allison. It's like I would almost call it Astro Network because I've been using LinkedIn for a long time. I've accumulated quite a big of following, which is really nice. I'm very blessed to have that. But I mean, what good is it if I don't use it or use to help other people too? So the idea is that I'm gonna try to do this at least once a week, do some sort of pop up live stream depending on my schedule and availability, and just open it up and say, okay, if you've got any business challenges that you're struggling with or whatever, just message me and I'll take the best ones and I'm going to try to just get it out there, or try to give all of them actually, depending on the volume. So what I'll do is just put it out to the network, and then I'll try to go once a week and maybe like either have people on. I'm not sure exactly. This is still in the whiteboard stage, how I want to handle that component. But anyway, so I definitely do some more streamcasting, but that's definitely a component and getting a tribute to the guy that introduced me into broadcasting, the late great Bob Allison. So anyway, so that's the first thing I wanted to kind of throw out there. The second thing is in terms of like, so I call if you look at the title, this is just a beta test, which I think is funny because I don't think there's any other career out there that can say you're just doing a beta test, or whatever. You're just going out there and just screw. Basically, it's a license to screw up. I mean, in terms of just like, and Reid Hoffman, actually the founder of LinkedIn, had a real great saying is that if you're not embarrassed by the first generation of your product or service, then you launch too late. And there's obviously a happy medium there, but again, it's nice to have that do-over capability. So again, like I said, this is a beta test. Didn't advertise it at all. So my expectation is just check the sound. And like I said, from my side, it looks like it's working, but we'll see after I check the recordings later. So anyway, so the beta test, again, that's a wonderful thing about entrepreneurship too. And if you've never been an entrepreneur, I highly recommend you just with the gig economy, you have all this stuff going on. It's just a great lifestyle in general if you can do it right. And the one thing, one of the objections I hear a lot of times about people getting into entrepreneurship is the high failure rate. And I actually did some research on that probably 5 years ago. And I think the SBA statistic is that 90% of businesses fail after 5 years. But I deep dive that, and the data actually it's true, but they don't talk about the reasons. And the reasons, there's three reasons that businesses typically fail. Number one, they run out of cash. Number two, that the founders quit; they just get tired of it. And number three is that they don't have a co-founder. Like solopreneurs are a lot less likely to be successful. So anyway, so based on that, so most of the time businesses fail not because they fail because the founders quit. So anyway, so it just I think that's a real interesting tidbit. But anyway, so I think that's about it for today. And the technology is working pretty well, but I don't think I have anyone joining yet. But I didn't market this. Next week I will also be doing live pitches. That's the goal anyway. So I've got a bunch of pitches. We're gonna start giving out some funding. So I have a lot of cool ideas. So, but first you gotta get the equipment working. So hopefully today the equipment's working pretty well. So I've got information in the footer of this message, and if anything's not working or is working really well, if you wouldn't mind messaging me if anything stands out, it would be highly appreciated. But if you're looking for funding, or if you want to invest in startups, there's always startups in our world that need money. So love to talk to you about that. If you have any challenges in terms of your business or ideas that you think my network would be helpful, just send me a message and we'll try to help figure it out. And other than that, I think we're good. So it was great chatting with you, or at least talking to you. And if you did like what I did, please smash that like button, and may God bless you.